Ongoing unrest in Charlotte. Vowing to pressure, the police department there released 2 videos of the fatal shooting of Keith Lamont Scott. All of this after days of protests demanding that the footage be made public. Our Eva Pilgrim has been in Charlotte all week for us. And Eva, there's a lot these videos show, but a whole lot they don't. So how are people reacting to it?
Paula, the peaceful protesters overnight saying this is not enough. They want the full video released. They have been calling for it since this shooting happened last week. Meanwhile, the city of Charlotte ramping up security for today's Panthers game, declaring it an extraordinary event, prepared for more protests now that this portion of the video is out.
This morning, a first look at the police video showing the fatal shooting of Keith Lamont Scott. In the dashcam video, you see Scott get out of his SUV, walking backwards, hands by his side, when 4 shots are fired.
We got shots fired, 1 suspect down.
It does not make sense to us how it was possible that this incident resulted in the loss of life.
The body cam video showing a different angle, a uniformed officer using a baton trying to break the passenger window to get Scott out of his SUV. Scott is seen standing outside the vehicle, then the father of 7 lying on the ground, police running up with guns drawn.
He's gripping his hand,
Officers checking his pulse begin to administer aid.
Get some gloves, we need to hold the wound.
Police also releasing pictures of the evidence taken from the scene, saying Scott's DNA and fingerprints were found on the loaded gun they recovered.
There's no single piece of evidence that proves all the complexities involved in this investigative process.
What I see on the video is the failure of the police to use all of the resources that they had at their disposal to avoid killing Keith.
Family members say 43-year-old Keith Scott was just sitting in his SUV waiting to pick up his son from school. According to police, officers were in the neighborhood for an unrelated arrest warrant. They saw Scott with marijuana and a gun and made the decision to approach him.
Do those actions, do those precious seconds justify this shooting?
What we know and what you should know about him is that he was an American citizen who deserved better.
The police chief saying they will release the rest of the video when this investigation is complete. Dan.
Eva Pilgrim on the ground in Charlotte. Eva, thank you. Okay, so let's break down this newly released video now with ABC News consultant Brad Garrett, formerly with the FBI. Brad, good morning. Two things strike me from this new video. First, it's really not clear that Keith Lamont Scott is actually holding a gun. And second, his arms are at his side in the moment he was shot, as far as I can tell, and he's backing up. So do you see what I'm seeing here?
I'm seeing the same thing, Dan, so it raises the following questions. He steps out of the vehicle. As he moves backward, does his arms come up? You hear the cops yell, drop the gun, drop the gun. He apparently doesn't drop the gun, and so at some point, from their vantage point, he must have raised the gun, because I can't think of any other justification to shoot him.
Right. Is there some other tactic they could have used in that moment, like tasing him or just letting him continue to back up?
Either one is a possibility. And it also raises the bigger question is, why did you just not leave him in the vehicle and sort of wait him out?
The other thing that we see on some of the earlier videos is the gun on the ground after Scott has been shot. And some people have pointed out that the gun seems awfully far away from him. Does that raise any suspicions for you?
No, because typically you move a gun away from somebody that you've just shot or arrested for the obvious reason, so they can't reach for it if they're still conscious.
Brad Garrett, thank you very much. So many questions still in this case, but we really appreciate you helping us clarify it to the extent possible. Thanks again.
Just the beginning of those questions. Thanks, Dan.